Deep in the Aravalli Hills of Rajasthan, as the sun dips below the horizon, an entire 16th century metropolis plunges into total darkness. The stone walls of Bhangarh Fort stretch across the valley, silent, decaying, and completely isolated. An official government mandate enforces the silence here. The Archaeological Survey of India strictly prohibits anyone from entering these ruins between sunset and sunrise. Locals and trespassers who live near the perimeter report hearing a city that refuses to stay dead. They describe the heavy clashing of medieval swords, the sharp chime of dancers' anklets echoing from empty courtyards, and the faint wailing of women in the dark. Historical sites around the world routinely host nighttime tours and light shows. A total, legally enforced nighttime ban is highly unusual. It forces us to ask, did a sudden wave of dark magic actually wipe out this population overnight, or is there a much grimmer historical reality buried under the rubble? Bhangarh began in 1573 as a strategic Rajput outpost, but under the developer Madho Singh, it transformed into a regional powerhouse. Looking at the vast footprint of these stone foundations, you see the scale of his ambition. This was a thriving commercial hub of over 10,000 people. It featured a bustling central market known as the Jauhari Bazaar, grand residential mansions, and a dedicated dancers' haveli for royal entertainment. The city's wealth is permanently etched in its surviving architecture. These towering, Nagara-style Hindu temples stand remarkably well preserved, showcasing intricate stone carvings that required decades of highly skilled labor. Building a stone metropolis of this size requires immense logistical support and a stable economy. Populations do not simply abandon a thriving, fortified capital with this infrastructure on a whim. The collapse had to have a specific, powerful catalyst. Local folklore offers two supernatural catalysts for that collapse. The first centers on an ascetic named Baba Balu Nath. According to the legend, he allowed the fort to be built near his meditation site on one strict condition: the palace must never grow tall enough to cast a shadow over his retreat. Years later, an ambitious successor ignored warnings and added massive vertical extensions to the royal palace. The moment the ascetic's retreat was plunged into darkness, his resulting curse supposedly caused the city's roofs to collapse, dooming the residents. The second, more famous legend involves a sorcerer named Tantric Singya. Obsessed with the famously beautiful Princess Ratnavati, he cast a black magic spell on massage oil, intending to enchant and enslave her. Sensing the trap, the princess hurled the enchanted oil onto a boulder. The spell caused the stone to violently roll over the sorcerer, crushing him.
With his dying breath, he delivered an absolute hex, condemning everyone in Bhangarh to death and ensuring their spirits would be trapped in limbo forever. Both of these stories share a common thread: swift, cinematic vengeance. For a local culture staring at the ruins of a massive city, a magical curse provides a clean, understandable explanation for an otherwise terrifying and complex societal collapse. The historical record points away from sudden magical destruction and toward a much slower, agonizing decline. The real decay of Bhangarh began with a shifting political landscape following the death of its ruler, Chhatra Singh, in 1630. As the central Mughal Empire weakened, regional power vacuums triggered decades of instability. Bhangarh absorbs consecutive military blows, depleting its defenses until it was forcibly annexed by Maharaja Jai Singh II of Jaipur in 1720. The city was already politically marginalized, but the final, fatal blow wasn't military, it was delivered by nature. In 1783, the region was hit by the Chalisa famine, one of the most devastating droughts in South Asian history. This line graph illustrates the catastrophic efficiency of that natural disaster. We see the population holding relatively steady around 10,000 citizens through the 1600s, before plunging vertically to zero precisely as the famine years strike. The reality on the ground was mass starvation. Years without monsoon rains decimated crops, forcing surviving residents into a desperate final evacuation in search of food and water. The sheer physical toll of starvation and drought ensured Bhangarh would never be repopulated. Bhangarh was claimed by a collision of geopolitics and extreme climate failure, a slow physical death, leaving the city a hollow shell long before the legends were born. Today, the grim historical truth of the Chalisa famine is largely overshadowed by sensationalized tales of ghosts and demons. But this supernatural reputation has fueled a massive wave of ghost tourism. Thousands of visitors travel to Rajasthan specifically to experience India's most haunted location, driving constant global interest and critical maintenance funding to the site. For centuries, this fear created a physical buffer. Locals refused to build houses with roofs near the fort, believing they would collapse overnight. And even today, visitors avoid letting their hair down inside the walls to ward off spirits. This collective avoidance prevented the usual stripping of stones for local construction that has erased many other medieval forts in the region. The wailing women and vengeful sorcerers of Bhangarh are fictions born from the trauma of a dying city. But the fear they generated created an accidental preservation tool, saving a 16th century architectural masterpiece from being erased by time.